Hey everyone, welcome back to Pretending with Dice. As always, I'm your host and game master, AJ. I just want to start things off today with a little apology for the change in release date for this episode. Obviously, it was originally supposed to be released a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, a bunch of stuff ended up getting in the way. First, I was away for a few days, then I got sick, lost my voice, which obviously isn't the most helpful thing when making a podcast. And then following that, I had a few unexpected work things come up. So yeah, I just want to thank you all for your patience, but we're here now, finally, with episode 133. Hopefully I can make up for the unexpected delay, though, with the other thing that I need to talk about before we get into the episode, and that is the announcement that once again we're going to be heading up to London at the end of November for Dragon Meet 2024. Super excited to once again be part of the podcast zone, alongside a bunch of other really great UK TTRPG podcasters. The con is on Saturday, November 30th at the Novotel London West in Hammersmith, and yeah, we hope to see a bunch of you there. Head to dragonmeet.co.uk for more details. So yeah, with all that said, I think it's about time to get into today's episode then. Enjoy. The scattering of wispy, high-level clouds is broken by the sleek form of the runabout, smoothly slowing from orbital velocity as it descends towards the mineral survey site chosen for Lt Cmdr Rai's away team. As you get lower, Rai, following the automated landing guidance, you begin to get a better view of the area that you'll be investigating. The landing spot is pretty close to a rocky ridge and set of cliffs overlooking a fairly wide expanse of open water, the remains of one of the planet's oceans. The site is on the top of the cliff, it's out of the water and everything, but like it's a little closer to the edge than you had originally realised in orbit. Yeah, like I say, it's a pretty large body of water looking out. I guess an equivalent size would be, I guess, kind of, I don't know, like a kind of Lake Geneva.
Okay.
You know, so pretty big. This isn't like it's not like a small lake. This is like it's a sea still, but it's, where you're landing is, this very much would have been an ocean. All that's left is like the water that's in the bottom, in the cracks basically, which has left this kind of in this sort of depression next to where you're landing is full of this is kind of the remains of an ocean.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll bring the runabout into land.
Directly, or you just
I think we'll just drop down on the landing site that we picked, which is on this kind of raised precipice.
I mean, it's only raised in like in relation to the water, I will say.
Yeah.
The land surrounding you is kind of like, it's almost like a bit of a flat plain. Again, like the rest, like much of the rest of the planet, it is kind of a dusty sort of desert basically at this point. But yeah, like I say, you would know this was once the ocean floor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll go for the original landing location. And you want me to roll?
I do. You bring it in for a landing. You kind of know what you're doing, but can I just get a control con check from you, please? I think just difficulty 1.
16 and a 5.
Okay, yeah, you got your 1 success there. So nothing too flashy, but yeah, you've made it to the ground. Setting down the runabout, I want to say within like short walking distance. You're not going to land directly on top of the mineral deposit.
No. Just
for sort of science sake and everything. But yeah, it's in sight, I would say.
Okay. Landing cycle completed. Thrusters offline. we are down.
Cool. Just a reminder of your team then. So you have Dr. Salat, you have Lieutenant Carson, you have Ensign Bareka, and you have Ensign Pherea.
So yeah, Ray stands up from the cockpit and walks into the mobile lab compartment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people, we are down. Everybody doing good?
All good, sir.
Dr. Salat just sort of gives you a nod. Yes, Commander. And Lieutenant Carson. Oh, yeah, pretty good back here, sir.
Excellent. Bareka, are you ready to join us?
Of course, Commander. You see, she's already gotten her phaser rifle ready and is sort of checking the charge on it.
Mm-hmm. I expect nothing less. So, we're looking at the mineral deposits in the local area. Any questions?
Carson sort of raises a hand.
Carson?
Just to be clear, so what kind of minerals are we expecting down here? I've got this basic scan, but it seems a little bit thin on the details.
Well, truth be told, Carson, we don't know exactly what we're going to find here. This planet is completely new to us, and from what we can tell, this area used to be part of the seabed. But the oceans have been receding quite a bit based on all the surveys we've done from the Tenzing. So, essentially, we're here to catalogue anything that we find and note down how much of it we find in abundance.
Yeah, gotcha.
So proper undiscovered country style exploration of this area.
What do you mean by that, sir?
Well, we've never been here before.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, now I follow.
In essence, this is completely new to us, Carson. So we're cataloguing anything and everything we discover that is of mineral worth. One thing to be aware of, just in case it wasn't clear before, EVA suits on at all times. The atmosphere out there is not friendly. As for how long we're going to be down here, as long as we feel we need to be. When we get to a point where we're not discovering anything new or not cataloguing anything new, we'll consider returning to the ship. But we should also bear in mind that if the other away team get into any difficulty or they need any assistance, we will pack up here and then head across to their location.
Commander, are we taking any samples back to the Tenzing from here, or are we strictly keeping it all on site?
If the mobile lab can handle any samples you find, then yes, by all means collect some, but let's not take too much back with us. This is just the preliminary expedition for us. If we find anything of interest, we probably will be coming back at some point.
Gotcha.
So in terms of security detail, Bareka will be on point. Everybody else, I don't think we're likely to come across anything living out there, but everyone make sure you got your phasers handy, set them on stun for the time being, and let's just hope nothing jumps out at us. I don't think anything will.
You hear a slight grumble behind you as Bareka changes the setting on her phaser.
Okay, everyone, let's get cracking.
Okay. So helmets on, suits on. I think out of the two teams, I mean, obviously Murphy's team had to suit up and before they beamed down, but I think coming down here in the runabout, you've been able to hold off on getting ready up to this point. But I think we don't need to have a getting dressed montage. We can we can just say
the suits.
So yeah, a few minutes pass as you all get ready. You gather your gear, all set up for a mineral survey, and pop the outer hatch of the runabout and step out onto the surface of I guess we didn't have a name for it, did we? BC5172, I think we went with, or was it BC517B? One or the other.
I think it was two.
Two. Let's go with two. The second planet, anyway. So
yeah.
On the other side of the planet, we find our other away team expedition. Amongst the mysterious but abandoned artificial structures which you've discovered built in the shadow of a mountain range. Johnny, you're just kind of, I think, keeping a look around as the sort of investigation is continuing. You're quite aware that the captain is around, and you want to, I guess, would you want to kind of keep... I mean, not that Johnny's not professional, but I think this is an added level of, like, you haven't been on a away team mission with the captain before.
Yeah, he's on best behaviour. I mean, you know what he's like in terms of trying hard all the time. And somehow he's found a new level of, like, stiffness and really looking like I'm on mission all the time, sir.
Yeah.
Peering off into the distance with a really intense look in his eyes.
Yeah. Okay. Can I get a difficulty 2 insight security? from you.
I got a 1 and a 13.
1 and a 13. Okay, well the 1 is a crit, so that's the 2 successes you needed. The 13's a failure, but that doesn't matter. So yeah, you're kind of making a move around, and you just feel a slight rumbling beneath your feet. Looking about, there's no obvious sign of where it's come from.
I'm going to call out.
Did anybody else feel that?
Bond calls back over the radio.
Feel what? The floor. It was shaking underneath me just a moment ago. Not me. Anybody else?
Murphy and Ireela, if I could get insight security checks from both of you.
A 7 and a 4.
7 and a 4. Okay, so that's 2 successes from Murphy.
I don't think I noticed anything.
You're enjoying the silence.
Yeah, like Amy said, I think that this is the furthest away, other than the immediate other 5 people who are with you. This is the quietest it's been for a while for you in terms of emotions coming from everywhere. While you don't feel anything through your feet, it's like a calm day out here for you. You've obviously heard Johnny over the communicator, but yeah, you don't feel any rumbling beneath your feet. Murphy, you do feel a slight tremor as he says this.
Yep. I got that. Tricorders out. Let's track that. See if we can localize it.
Aye, sir.
I don't want to get us getting hit by some geological disturbance.
Okay. So what are you doing? You said tricorders out. What's the thought here?
Not scanning the ground, see if maybe there's something moving underneath us.
If you like.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for the earthquake meter kind of.
Like a sort of seismological scan or something. Okay, if you want to do that, can I get I think this is a reason science check from you. Difficulty 2.
That is a 17 and a 5.
17 and a 5. Yeah, results come back inconclusive. You've been getting odd readings the whole time you've been down here in terms of the life scan readings, and this is sort of coming back with a similar return in that it's not saying no movement, but it's not really locking anything down.
Am I seeing similar, or shall I do a check?
Can I get a check from you? I think
10 and 11.
11 and a 10. Yeah, you were aiming for 12 or under, so that's 2 successes. Yeah, again, you're the one who first kind of gets a bit more of a concrete reading. It's not coming back as geological movement, but it's definitely in vague terms it's kind of picking up something moving in the area underground.
Okay. Over comms, I'll just be like,
I've got a bad feeling, everyone. It seems like there's something underneath us. I think the life forms that we were maybe tracking earlier, it could be that we're maybe above a layer or something like that.
Could be a creature.
About this moment, Lieutenant Commander Fell beckons you over. Murphy, come look at this. I could use a second set of eyes on this.
Sure. What you got?
She's at the side of one of the buildings, and up to now they've looked pretty uniform, they've looked pretty smooth on the outside, but you see what she's pointing to. It appears to be a sort of uneven groove has been scraped along the side of this this building.
What do you make of this? It's not deep, but it doesn't look like natural degradation of the material.
How tall is the building? Is it?
It's a couple of feet off the floor, and it's kind of in an arc. It's like a sort of slash has been taken along the side of the building, starting about 1.5 feet off the floor and going up to about 3 feet before kind of tapering off.
So almost like a talon kind of swipe.
I mean, possibly. A swipe has been taken.
That would be telling.
Yes.
That would be telling.
The building. Like I say, up to this point, these buildings have been pretty pristine, to the point where you did an analysis on them because it was unusual that they would be this pristine.
Is there anything singling out this building other than that mark? Or?
No, not at all. It's just that fella sort of noticed this kind of scrape.
That's an odd mark.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of these are all pretty pristine, but this one looks like it's been hit with something,
Sharp.
Well, yeah. What did that, do you think?
Captain, something curious here.
He comes out of the building. He was still inside one of the buildings, sort of checking stuff out.
What's up? What do we got?
Bells found an interesting mark, and Johnny and I felt some rumbling. Did you feel any rumbling, sir?
Not inside, no. Everything felt pretty secure.
My tricorder was inconclusive, but Johnny's picking up some movement underneath us, sir. Possibly, maybe a creature that we were finding hints of earlier. Maybe that's why our readings were inconclusive earlier. Because it's moving around.
Do you think what you're tracking is what caused this?
He gestures towards the mark on the building.
I'm not sure, sir, but it's something to keep an eye on. I recommend that we keep a good scan going. We don't want to be surprised.
No, definitely not. Okay, everybody group up. Until we know what caused this, I don't want anybody wandering around on their own.
Sir?
Okay, let's pick up the pace. Want to get that holo scan done as quickly as possible.
Alright, sir, I'll just take it one street at a time.
So who's grouping up with who here?
Johnny has gravitated. Generally speaking, I think when these conversations and stuff where we're all grouping up, like he tends to go alongside Bonge.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And as they're talking about grouping up, he gives him a nudge and a nod.
Yeah, Bonge makes eye contact and gives you a nod of like, yeah, because Bonge has seen you on the holodeck with a phaser, and he knows he knows you're okay.
Got some backup.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll work together, and I think I'll get Bonge to help maybe try and focus the scans a little bit.
So you like showing him your tricorder and then be like, what can we do with this kind of thing? Okay.
Although I appreciate maybe jumping the gun there. I don't want to.
No, it's a question to ask. I mean, anytime this kind of thing happens, if you know, this is the throwing out ideas stage, and like throwing out like, can I get the engineer who we brought with me to tweak my tricorder to be like, you know, to focus on this thing, is exactly the kind of thing that you would be, you know, it's a good thing to ask. You know,
I think in scene Johnny's then going to take the initiative to like try hard it a little bit. And
Captain, sir, if you will allow, I'd like to work with Ensign Bonge. I've got some readings already. I think he might be able to give you some assistance in focusing this a little bit.
Of course, yeah. Go right ahead.
Aye, sir, we'll get right to it.
Okay. Bond just like giving you sort of holding up a hand, doing the sort of come on, hand it over kind of gesture, with a little sort of multi-tool in his other hand.
I will do so.
Okay.
Work your magic, Bonge.
Okay. I think for Bonge this is going to be a control engineering check. It is a difficulty 3, I think, because tricorders are already pretty well tuned, but you're trying to dial in on this particular thing, which is already kind of giving the tricorder some trouble. Bonge is looking for 15 or under. We don't have any momentum at the moment, I don't think. So we'll see how this goes. His focuses are in EPS systems, maintenance procedures, and Darbo. So I don't know if any of those are going to apply here.
Not so much.
Darbo!
Yeah.
Darbo!
But yeah, I will roll for Bonge. 11 and 4. That's okay. 2 successes out of the 3 I needed.
Is there anything I can do to sort of like assist?
There is actually. I think to assist with a task, the player must describe how their character is assisting the task leader, and then you get to roll 1d20 to sort of add to the check.
Okay.
So how is Johnny helping?
I think Johnny's kind of like peering over Bonge's shoulder, being that much taller than him. It's quite easy. He's sort of like pointing at things on the tricorder, going, I think maybe like a little bit of adjustment on that, tweak this, pointing things out, and whether it's all helpful, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay. I'm going to give this here. Assistants do not have to use the same attribute, department, or focus as the leader. This would be more of a reason check for you, because you're kind of... You know what you want and you know what you're pointing out, whereas Bonge's one was the engineering check to kind of get it through.
Makes sense.
So reason... I guess this would be reason science, because the original check was reason science, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, can I just get 1d20 from you then? This is for the assisting.
Ooh.
18. Okay. That's a little high.
A little.
You were aiming for 12 or under, so unfortunately your help is not sufficient in this moment to fully resolve it. However, I think between the two of you, you can't really resolve it as much as you would like. Although you are able to kind of sort of stabilize the signal, so you're not having to keep resetting up the scan, if you know what I mean, because it's been so anomalous, I think, at this point that like it's kind of drifting in and out. You're able to kind of keep the scan going, looking for the same thing. I think it's not able to kind of narrow it down to be like a sort of I guess like the Aliens motion tracker kind of thing. It's not like that. Oh, maybe it is like that. But it's not quite as accurate as like, okay, if I turn to the left, I can see a thing coming at me, sort of thing, or anything like that. It's just you're getting kind of general sort of, vaguely in this direction I'm picking up something, or vaguely in this direction I'm picking up something a little stronger or whatever, without having to keep rescanning.
I can kind of picture Bonge and Johnny then like sort of pointing around. Is it over there? I think the blips. It might be over there.
Yeah, it's kind of this is a few minutes of messing around, I think, in terms of like trying to get it dialed in and not quite succeeding as well as you would like, but having a little bit of progress. Just not the immediate like, okay, we have a lock kind of outcome.
Okay.
So, okay. That being said, who else is sort of grouping up with who?
Murphy should probably go with... Can they go with Johnny and Bonge? I suppose two groups would kind of make sense.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So we can target different things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so our two groups then. We've got Johnny and Bonge and Murphy, and we've got Ireela, Fell, and Collins. Is that right? Have I got that backwards?
I think that's right.
No, I think that's right.
Okay. So I guess sort of standing in the kind of main square area where you were all kind of congregating before then, you split up and head down different sort of little streets. As I say, it's not the hugest sort of collection of buildings ever, but you know there are kind of a couple of little rows, and they're not grouped in like a grid or anything like that. So a kind of a wander through to get a scan is going to take a few minutes for each group, I think, just to kind of get proper coverage on everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I guess as Ireela, as your group is sort of setting off, Collins is kind of he's got his tricorder in one hand, and he's definitely scanning as he walks, but you can't help but notice that he has got a hand kind of near his phaser on the belt as he's going. I think he's not like on edge, but you're kind of sensing like a feeling of readiness from him, of like, okay, this isn't my first rodeo. Yeah. We're on an unknown planet we've never been on before. We're picking up something we can't explain. Best to be ready, kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fairness, I think Ireela's best thing is going to be paying attention to her empath senses and going, can I feel anyone actually concentrating on us?
Okay.
Just in case.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think I'm going to need a check from this, because this is a specific, like, do I feel anybody focusing on us, or do I feel anybody at all? I guess is the first check. Yeah. I think we've done insight security for this before, haven't we? So
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
So yeah, can I just get? I think this would be difficulty 2, because it's kind of a vague check here. You're kind of not vague, but you know what I mean. You're kind of generally wide, in a wide area, trying to see what you can see, sort of thing. Yeah, rather than a focus.
One success.
One success. Okay. You're not really picking up anything, no. As I said before, this whole area. I mean, now that you're off the ship and you're not sort of surrounded by hundreds of people, the 5 people you're with are kind of standing out sort of brightly to you. Mm-hmm. But you're not really picking up anything else.
Okay. That's reassuring.
Yeah, at least not sort of nothing but sort of sentient thoughts, I guess, would be the thing. Because I mean, you're not like a radar for any life forms, if you know what I mean. But it's kind of
yeah. I can only pick it up if they're really like as long as they're not too far away and there's any strong enough emotions.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, emotions are going to feel differently for different species as well, and it might just be like...
Yeah. Like, I'm used to a fairly wide variety of species that are part of the Federation, but...
Yeah, and I think you would know as well, just from experience, like, everything feels a little... Every species feels a little different, and the difference between, like, sentient life forms and, like... I don't know, I mean, like, you know... ones who could talk and
higher level
animals.
Intelligence.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I was trying to find the right wording there. Like, it definitely, there's a definite sort of, it's like a different set of skills to kind of, it'd be like the difference between like feeling what your cat is feeling and feeling what, you know, the postman's feeling is like a completely different set of set of skills, I suppose. Skills are the wrong word. You know what I'm saying though. It's sort of, it's all very yeah. But yeah, emotionally, like, it's kind of empty out here, I will say, other than you're starting to, I think, feel that, like, now that the possibility of danger has been raised, as I say, from Captain Collins, it's definitely, like, a feeling of readiness. Fel is a little bit more, I don't want to say scared, but she's used to being in her lab a bit more, I will say. Mm-hmm. So she's starting to feel a little bit wary, I think, in a way that's like not just like a kind of, okay, ready for whatever. It's kind of like a, oh no, I don't want anything to happen kind of
feeling.
Bit
of trepidation.
Yeah, definitely. The others are a bit further off, but you definitely you know Murphy, I think, well enough at this point to sort of be able to discern, like, okay, that's, even though they're further off, like, that's Murphy, that's Johnny, and the completely unchecked growing fear level is coming from Bond. Sort of thing, even though they've wandered off in the other direction at this point. But
I am glad that I did not go in that group, because my empath senses might have just been like overloaded.
Yeah, be like walking around in the dark with someone next to you's got like a bright phone screen on, like you're not...
Yeah, kind of blinding to everything else.
Yeah. Are you doing any scans while you're walking around as well, or are you just kind of keeping an eye out and keeping your sort of emotional senses open?
I'm probably going to be doing more the emotional senses, to be honest, because everyone else is plenty capable of covering everything else, really. Mm-hmm. It's the only, but this is the one thing that only I can do.
Yeah, sure, no worries. So yeah, okay, we'll just say then you are kind of keeping open mind, keeping open, yeah. But in like an actively keeping it in a completely different sense to normal. Ireela's keeping it open. That's how that phrase is normally used. Yeah. So yeah, like I say, the captain and Fel are kind of walking around, doing, I think, kind of sort of hollow scans. We've done this before, haven't we? With specifically with the marker stone that you found in this village, but also on the Dratiran temple complex thing where you went down in the basement and took some hollow scans before the whole place got nuked. Just kind of, I mean, it's almost the equivalent of like building up like a... You can do it now. I mean, I've got an app on my phone that does it, like a sort of make a 3D model scan of like walking through the village and being like, okay, we want to be able to recreate this in the holodeck. Let's get everything from every angle, sort of thing. Is the thought here?
Yeah.
Okay, Murphy, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Are you guiding the other group around, or are you just kind of...
You know what? Murphy's gonna hang back, but like let them take the lead and just like keep an eye of the peripheral and where everybody is. Mm-hmm. See if anything stands out as they're walking past.
Yeah.
And just going...
What's your level of readiness here is what I'm kind of asking you.
Yeah, she has her phaser out. She has her tricorder out. Keeping an eye on what Johnny and Bond are finding as they go, and but is trying to keep aware of everything else around.
Right, okay.
Yeah. They're letting their guard down a bit too much.
Yeah. I say it's only a couple of minutes that they're messing with it, but yeah, I think you quite quickly pick up on that and just kind of up your level of awareness here. Can I get then an insight security check from you? Difficulty 2, you're looking for, it's pretty good for you, 15 or under.
The 6 and a 5. 6
and 5, okay, cool. So that's 2 successes for you. A minute or two passes, you're kind of walking slowly through the mini street, I'm kind of picturing like Bonge and Johnny sort of walking along, but like holding this thing between them, both looking down at it, not really watching where they're going.
I think Johnny's still diligent. In fairness, like his security training keeps him like aware of stuff. Like he has got a phaser in one hand. All
right, okay, fair enough. I just was. I wasn't sure how much you were focusing on it, I guess, that's all.
Johnny, you know Johnny.
Yeah, all right.
Always on the job.
Yeah. So, yeah, you do, I think, as you're walking, feel another kind of rumble beneath your feet. This time a little bit stronger.
You've got to have felt that this time, Bonge.
Yeah, I felt that one.
Bond kind of looks up a little bit panicked as you say this and sort of looks at you, Murphy, with a look of like, Commander, what's happening in his face.
All right, Bonge, take it easy. Let's just continue to get this scan and proceed with caution, folks.
Yeah, okay.
He sort of turns around and is quite quickly scanning the buildings around him, almost a little too quickly. I mean, you've done a few, I think, you've been on a few away missions. This isn't the first time you've done scanning yourself, Murphy, definitely. Bonds is not an away team experienced member of the crew, and you're definitely getting a feeling of like, oh, he is trying to rush through this job to get out of here as quickly as he can, because he's a little freaked out.
While Bonge is doing that, I think Johnny's going to step over to Murphy and just be like,
I've got a really bad feeling about this. This rumbling and the fact that these signals that we're getting, or the tricorders, like they must be moving fast under there or something. Whatever it is.
Or it's rather large. That's slightly more disturbing. So let's just focus on what we do know.
Yeah, let's get these scans done quick. Bonge, how's it going?
Pretty good. I think we're nearly there.
All fine, Bonge. Steady as we go.
Yes, Commander.
So, at this point then, I think you turn a corner just in time to see some dust being kicked up around the end of one of the buildings.
Point the tricorder directly in that direction.
Okay. I think this would be, at this point, difficulty 1. Reason science check from you, because you've messed with the tricorder. You've dialed it in a little bit, I think.
Ooh. Oh dear, it's not happening for me.
18 and 17. Oh yeah, that's not great. Yeah, inconclusive scan.
I'm gonna shake the tricorder and just point the phaser in that direction.
Okay.
Well, what did you see? What did you see?
Did you not see it, Murphy? The dust? Something went around the corner?
I saw it.
There's definitely something out there.
Murphy's gonna hit her comm badge.
Murphy to Captain.
Murphy, how are you getting on?
Keep an eye out for the sand moving. Whatever might be rolling around might break the surface, so we've missed it, but there was something on the surface.
Right, gotcha. We'll keep our eyes peeled. Thanks, Murphy.
Murphy out.
Okay, so I think Ireela, like you also at this, because you can sort of hear what's going on. I think for the first time, as I said, it's been kind of feeling empty. You get like a sudden, from off to your left, where there are, the rest of your crew aren't. There is a feeling of, the only way to describe it, I guess, would be a sudden feeling of hunger now.
Okay, that's not good. So I'm going to turn and look in that direction. It's my first response, I think.
Yeah, I think because you're picking it up sort of emotionally, you sort of feel this thing before there's any kind of movement that's visual. As you turn, you see the surface of the dust on the street broken open and sort of launching itself from below the ground towards your group is a long, slightly scaly looking, eyeless, I don't want to say snake, it's more of a worm with a kind of open kind of maw of teeth at the business end heading directly towards your group. It's about 6 feet to 7 feet long. It's tough to tell, but it's thin and narrow and launching itself towards your group?
I'm going to shout for everyone to scatter.
Okay. All right. I think we find ourselves in our first proper combat of the show after 2 years. Okay. Ooh. So it's the start of a conflict, so I need to choose a character to take the first turn, and I think it makes sense that it's Ireela because you reacted quickly.
Yeah.
I think to set the scene as well, you've got this thing launching at you, you've reacted. I think before we officially kick this combat off, I do want to say it's quite clear that's not the only worm, at least your emotional feelings, emotional kind of senses. Like you get that initial thing and you kind of react and you feel a few spikes kind of around you. Tough at this moment to kind of lock down the exact numbers in this sort of high stress moment, but this is not the only thing going for you. I think we'll start with your turn. Okay. In a turn you can take a major action and a minor. One major action and a minor action. So minor actions are things like aiming your weapon, drawing out an item you're carrying, interacting with objects, movement, preparing or setting up a task, standing up and dropping prone.
Okay.
Major actions, assisting other characters, making an attack. You have direct. But this may only be attempted by one character on each side in position of authority. I think that's the captain in this particular instance. First aid, guard is sort of defending yourself, sprinting, and the main ones we're going to look at, I think really most of the time, is going to be like aiming, movement, and working with items in the minor actions, attacking, first aid, and kind of sprinting around in the major actions most of the time, I think. The basic thing is like on your turn, major action, minor action, then the initiative goes to an enemy, then it comes back to you guys unless you spend like momentum to keep the initiative each time.
All right. Okay.
So yeah, you find yourselves, I think at the start of this turn, you are in, I guess in kind of like a sort of short street of about 4 or 5 of these buildings on either side. Between each one, there is a kind of a narrow sort of alleyway. The buildings, I think it's easiest to kind of think of them as cubes 1 story high, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I think I'd kind of describe them as kind of low buildings before there wasn't anything kind of like towering or anything like that. Yeah. Listeners, we are working in this combat from a battle map which I've made, which I will be posting on our social media and Discord pages once this episode goes live. So look for that. I know that's not something we always do, but as we've got a sort of split party here, it felt the easiest way to keep track of this combat. So yeah. Our Starfleet crew are marked on the map in blue, and the attacking worm creatures are marked in red. Now, I know narratively we haven't yet seen all of these pop out of the ground, but for the sake of brevity, all of those enemies that are taking part in the combat are already marked on the map. That's just nature of this combat, and might not be how we do things in future, but yeah. Okay, so Ireela, with it being your turn, faced with this worm kind of popping out of the ground and heading towards you, you've sort of told everybody to scatter, but at this point we'll say we're now in combat.
Yeah.
What would you like to do? So you have a minor and a major action you can take.
Given the fact that they are very hungry, I'm probably gonna want to do some damage to them because we are not going to be able to communicate with them. So for once Ireela is choosing violence as the first option. I assume I shall try and shoot them with my phaser. Sure.
Are you moving first at all or anything, or are you just kind of like immediate reaction, stand my ground, take a shot, kind of?
I think aiming might be better.
Yeah. Reacting quickly then. Aiming, you don't need to do anything. This you've just applied the I've aimed kind of modifier to this. You're going to make an attack roll here, so as this thing is kind of it's sort of launched itself towards you, kind of out of the ground. Your phaser is now in your hand and you attempt an attack. So ranged attack. Can I get a difficulty 2 control security task from you? and you can re-roll one of the dice if you on this as well. So for you, this isn't too bad. You're looking 13 or under here. 20 and a 7.
You were saying?
Good thing we took the aim action, because you can re-roll that 20.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey.
12. Oh, awesome. So that's your second success there. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect example right off the bat of like, okay, if I take my time and aim, things might go better. And
I like the aim action.
yeah, the 20 would have been a complication, and that could have gone badly. So 2 successes there is a hit. Now, if this is a successful attack on these guys, they are what we would call a minor NPC. So you do an injury on it. I'm assuming you did. We didn't state. You just default phases on stun setting.
I think on default it probably would have been on stun.
Yeah. So the way it works is that if a minor NPC suffers an attack, they don't have the avoid injury action. Because they're what's classed as a minor NPC, all they can do is take the attack and suffer an injury which takes them out of the fight. So narratively then, you feel the immediate spike of hunger now as this worm launches itself out of the ground at you. You react quickly, pulling out your phaser, let off a blast which strikes it directly in the midair, and it sort of falls limp to the ground, stunned in front of you. The captain gives you a nod of like, good shot, sort of thing. However, it is not the only hunger, now eat feeling you're getting from around the area. And so...
Do I have a chance to say so?
Yeah, I think we can have that as a free action here.
There's definitely more of them.
Okay, phasers up. Stay sharp, people.
Initiative now flips to the opposing side. I think the one that is going to act next, just to keep things bouncing around between the two groups, while the Bonge, Johnny and Murphy group are sort of looking up the street to where the dust movement was seen. From their right, another worm pops up between buildings. I think this one kind of pops up pretty close range to you guys, taking the minor action to move towards you before launching itself. I mean, you tell me, in that group, we've got 3 dots on a map here, listeners at home. Who is who in this group?
I'm assuming the 2 together, that are closer together, would probably be Bonge and...
Yeah, the 2 at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Murphy not long ago, so I guess I'm bottom right,
Okay.
Bonge is bottom left, and Murphy's top.
Okay, good. That gives me the answer I needed, which is, who is this thing launching itself at? And the answer is Johnny.
Okay.
So I get to, I think, make a roll of attack on you, as this thing is popped up close enough to you to sort of make an attack. Kind of, I guess, sort of catching you by surprise a little bit, but you don't really have, there's no way of like responding sort of at this point. This is the back and forth of the, you know. Mm-hmm. So it is a melee attack. Do this, so it is a daring security check to attack you. I needed 2 successes. I got 1. So I'll leave this to you, Johnny. Like, how does this with 1 success? How does this not get you?
I think with the way that they're kind of like leaping at him, or this one is like his jiu-jitsu training. Like he kind of like swings an arm up and maybe like deflects it slightly.
Okay.
And
yeah.
like knocks it away as it's just about to hit him.
Yeah. Like that, I like that. We've kind of put it back on you as to why it hasn't got this. So yeah, your training kicks in. Your hours on the holodeck, your many many hours of training in martial arts, just give you the reflexes quick enough. You see this movement, and you know there's not a lot of, there's not no sound here because there is some atmosphere, but it's more like the most kind of warning you get is the visual of this thing popping up, and you just have enough quickness in your reflexes to just kind of step to the side slightly and just kind of knock it as it's making its kind of leaping lunge at your armor, your EV suit clad form, and you manage to knock it aside.
Looking at the map, like what's the line? Like if you were to draw a line of how it was attacking, what angle is it going at, and where did I knock it off to?
I think it was attacking from right to left.
Okay.
You knocked it sort of towards the south.
Okay.
But it's still you've kind of just deflected it. It's kind of in close range now. It's like right up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe just kind of stopped its momentum and knocked it to the ground.
Yeah, you've kind of knocked it to the ground, and it's sort of, I think as it hits the ground, it sort of curls itself around to sort of re-spring itself for a further attack. I say that it's kind of, they sort of are moving like snakes, but as I say, no eyes that you can see, and the whole kind of front is this sort of gnashing maw of teeth. Okay, and the initiative flips back to you guys. Who wants to go next out of people who haven't been yet? So anybody who isn't Ireela.
Ooh, I think it'll be Murphy, given that.
Murphy?
Yeah, I've been stunned, I think. I'm shocked.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Murphy's going to aim and then fire her phaser.
Sure, okay. Can I get a difficulty to control security from you?
That's 3 and a 9.
3 and a 9? Okay, that's 2 successes. So that's... While Johnny didn't have time to react as this, beyond sort of just knocking this thing aside, you quickly kind of quick draw your phaser, and just as it's kind of recoiling and to sort of spring again, you blast it with your phaser, and it sort of slumps to the ground, stunned.
Ah, that was close.
You're telling me? There's got to be more of them. Where is that thing?
And now the initiative flips back. I think, Ireela, your group, another one pops up sort of behind you. It's a little distant at this point, but it's you can see it sort of. It's maybe at the feeling of the other one making its attack. This one has maybe jumped up a little prematurely, and it sort of doesn't have quite the range to sort of make a leap towards your group. But there's definitely one sort of snaking its way in your direction along the road towards you. On the map, this is the dot on the southernmost dot on the right hand side. It's at the range where in its next turn I think it could make an attack, but it's this whole turn I think is its movement here. So let's flip the initiative again with Johnny, Bonge, Fel, or Collins. Who can go next?
I think Fel or Collins should probably react.
Yeah.
On the right hand side, there is one worm visible that is sort of coiling to attack from the south at the moment. What would you like to do?
Attack that one.
Okay. Let's say this is... Did we say this is Collins or Fel?
Go with Fel.
Fel? Okay. A little bit more, I think, Ireela, I will say. I'll give you the emotional updates for free. Fel is a little freaked out at this thing. It's just sort of that you'd kind of fired out of the air and stunned, and it sort of landed and sort of in a heap at your feet, and has noticed the one coming up behind, and as she pulls out her phaser, she does aim, but sort of lets out a little bit of like a as she fires. So Mark, can I get a difficulty to control security, aiming for 13 or under from you?
Okay. 11 and 1.
11 and a 1. Okay, so that is a crit.
Yeah.
And a third success. So, Amy, you're usually our momentum tracker, I guess. We're at 1. Momentum. You need 2 points to keep the initiative before if it flips back to them. But there's So like I say, Fel makes her attack, screams slightly as she fires her phaser. She's a scientist. She's not like a combat veteran, really. I mean, she fought in the she was on the crew during the war, but like she's a bioscientist. It's not a whole lot of like shooting things in her job description, really. So she points the phaser at this creature that was about to strike, and just goes and fires. Just hits it dead center, and it just slumps to the ground. Okay, the next one to pop up, I think I will say just to so it's not like and another one pops up on its turn. Is at this point the rest of them will have popped in, I think. So we have 2 at the end of the street for the Murphy, Bonge, Johnny group, and 1 down an alleyway to the side of the Ireela, Collins, Fel group, and another one sort of up the street from where the same direction the first one came from. They all kind of like just bursting out of the ground in like this kind of sprays of dust and everything. It's a little unclear, but you'd have to investigate as to whether they were like just going through the dust layer or whether they were fully underground. I mean, your earlier feelings would make it feel like, okay, these things were burrowing a little bit and then have now broken through the surface of the ground itself. But So safe to say, I think, just to keep things going, each group has 2 enemies visible to it, and I think the initiative is going to go to one of the ones on the Johnny Murphy side. Again, these are a little bit further up, so there's the move. I think the turn here is going to be movement. I don't think these things are smart enough to use the guard action, I will say. We've kind of previously established they're operating on a hunger thing here. If this was like you're fighting a group of enemies, like one of them I think would, like dudes with guns or whatever, they'd be smart enough to do the whole like defending themselves, sort of like preparing for an action, preparing against an attack and things like this. These things are operating on like pure instinct. They're like throwing themselves at you basically. I think it's going to use the sprint major action to immediately just like surge around the corner and get right up to you, Murphy. That is a major action, and that's its turn. Initiative goes back to your group, and we have either Johnny, Bonge, or Captain Collins.
I think I would like to take an action here and return the favour.
Sure, yeah.
And take aim.
Taking aim.
Try and kill the one that's headed towards Murphy.
Okay, alright. Can I get difficulty to control security? 15 and a 2, so you're aiming for 13 or under here, but you aim so you can re-roll that 15 if you like.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't, you'll miss, so... I would suggest it. There you go, a 5, that's much better. Yeah. Okay, alright. Again, the aim action proving itself very helpful in this. So yeah, again, this thing is surging right up to Murphy. You see it coming up the road and just like turn, and like I say, you're sort of returning the favour here, aren't you? And yeah, blasting this thing.
Look out!
Nice.
God, these are really big worms.
Yeah, they're like 6 to 7 feet long. The next one I think is going to be the one that's kind of in the alleyway side on the right hand group, on the Ireela group. So Ireela, you see this one kind of emerge from in between 2 buildings, and it's close enough that it makes it up to Captain Collins and goes for an attack on him.
Not the captain.
Well, yeah, I think he's the closest one.
Yeah.
Because it's a melee attack. It's a daring security check. But I'm looking for 10 or under. Ooh, that is my 2 successes there. Really, you can't quite react in time as this worm comes around the corner and just kind of launches itself into Captain Collins, biting onto his shoulder. You see a brief puff of like escaping air out the shoulder of his suit, and there's a flashing sort of warning light in his sort of display, and that for that part of the suit kind of shuts itself, emergency clamps itself shut, sort of thing. Collins just as this thing is kind of latched onto him and is like thrashing around, and its body kind of wraps around his arm and that whole kind of left hand side, and he's a little bit immobilized here as this thing is kind of bitten onto him. So obviously I'm going to take the avoid injury action here to avoid the captain immediately getting defeated here and going unconscious. But he is going to take... It's a deadly attack with severity 4, which means it deals 4 stress damage to the captain.
Yep.
So he is down to 5 out of 9. And as I say, this thing has kind of latched itself onto him and is kind of biting into his shoulder. It's pretty big, like I say, this is a chunky thing, and it's just kind of like it turned and it got on his sort of central mass out of its way, but it still got him. So we have choices now. It can either be Bonge's turn or it can be Collins's turn. Who would you like it to be?
Oh God.
I mean, it feels like it makes more sense perhaps for Collins, just for instant reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give him a chance to maybe fight out of this.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
If nothing else, he's got more experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I said it was his left-hand side, and his phaser is in his right hand.
Yeah.
As he just brings it up and tries to shoot into it. I've still got to make that attack, even though it's right on him. Mm-hmm. Or what's the better score here? Yeah, he's got 1 point higher in control than daring, so it's going to make more sense for him to try and take the shot than try and punch this thing off of him. But I'm looking for 12 or under on this. I think I'll take the aim action. We'll count that as him basically holding the phaser to it. So Collins is like, he's grimacing and he just raises his phaser up to this thing that's kind of wrapped itself onto him and hits the firing button. That's 2 successes right off the bat. So it sort of basically like shoots this thing off of his shoulder and it slumps down. And yeah, you can definitely see there's blood seeping out of this hole in his environment suit here, which is the suit has kind of clamped itself around the wound, so there's no like atmosphere escaping out of his suit. But like he's taken a bad wound here, and it's like, yeah, it's not great. Obviously, the lack of an atmosphere here is not helping matters at all. Okay, I think so the final worm on the Murphy and Johnny side of things is rocketing up the street towards the view again, taking this. I think it sort of skirts around the slumped down body of its I don't want to say comrade, but of its fellow worm, and sort of. It doesn't make it. It's a distance, so it spends its whole turn, and I think the sprint action, again, just to put it in game terms, getting right up to Bonge, ready to strike at the next turn. And it is Bonge's go now. So let's see what happens here then. As Bonge, quite scared, with a shaking hand, it's just he's got a phaser in his hand after you said phasers out. I appreciate there's a lot of me talking to myself. Does somebody want to roll for Bonge? Control skill is very high. Bonge actually is probably a pretty good shot because we're looking for 13 or under.
11 and 7.
11 and 7. Okay, well that's 2 successes then. Bonge, despite his fear, so this thing goes right out to him, and you just hear him go, "No, not like this!" As he raises a shaking hand with his phaser, and like it's literally about to like bite onto him as he squeezes the trigger, and it's stunned and it just kind of falls onto him, like somebody sort of dropped a carpet on him. I don't know why I went carpet, but like I was thinking like a rolled up long thing. This sort of stunned thing is like, he kind of falls to the ground backwards with this sort of dead weight on him. You just hear from a sort of muffled like, "Ah, get it off me, get it off me!"
Johnny will run over and start pulling it off.
Was that the last one, or was there one more?
It's the last one near us.
Last one near you. Okay.
Yeah.
The last one then is surging towards the Ireela Collins Fell group, and I think again this is quite a distance, so it spends most of its turn making the movement. That's our first round of combat, all the way around to Ireela again.
Yeah, I think I'll aim and shoot.
Yeah, sure. So again, a difficulty 2 control security check from you if I could. 14 and a 2. I think we're going to need a reroll for the...
Yeah, that's 1 success.
Yeah. 15. Okay. So yeah, I'm afraid that's still a miss. So yeah, this your shot goes wide, and unfortunately, as that is the only one left, and we're now into a new round, the initiative goes straight back to it because every other worm is out. So yeah, as it gets sort of within range of you, it's going to make a leap towards you as it tries to bite you, much like the other one did on Collins.
Yep.
Okay.
My fault for messing up.
They're not. Bear in mind, it's a 10 or under for them, so they're not like too. Okay, well, I shouldn't have said anything. I was going to say they're not too bad, and then immediately rolled a 10 or 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, this thing kind of again sort of latches on. I think as your arms are raised for the with the phaser in your hand for the miss, maybe it like goes for your left arm. Mm-hmm. And it bites into you, so you take 4 points of stress damage. I'm assuming you want to avoid injury here.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay, so you are down to 3 points of stress remaining. Who do we want to go next? I would probably suggest somebody else from either Fell or Collins in this group.
I think Collins.
Collins?
Or Collins. Yeah. I'll roll for Collins, shall I?
Weirdly, even though Collins is... This is how things have shaken out. Weirdly, even though Collins is like a command officer and had tactical training, more of his department score is in command than security, so actually, the fella's a better shot. But only by 1, so it's 100% up to you.
What's the point of being a captain if you can't live a little?
Okay, alright. Roll for Collins then, I guess.
2 and a 2.
A 2 and a 2. Okay, well, that's a hit right there. So, yeah,
Yes.
good shot.
Nice.
So yeah, despite his own wound, Collins raises his phaser and shoots the worm, and it is stunned, and it falls from your arm, Ireela. And yeah, all of a sudden there is silence and lack of movement once again in the village. But unfortunately, some damage has been taken. I know, and we are out of combat, I guess, and you are surrounded by a bunch of stunned worms on the ground.
Well, they're not going to stay stunned for long.
I suggest we regroup.
Absolutely. Bond, you okay? You didn't get hurt too badly from that thing falling on you?
I think I'll be fine, but I think it's safe to say I got the worst of this whole combat.
You'll be alright. Let's get to it.
My nerves, I need a slug of cola.
Give him a hard pat on the back.
Settle on my nerves.
Okay. So at the end of that then, so Ireela, you and the captain are both taking some damage here, but yeah.
I suggest security and science have a look at what the hell those things were. While I try and patch up myself and the captain.
Sure, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Can I just get a difficulty, I think for you, yeah, difficulty 2, reason medicine check. This is kind of your thing. 4 and a 2. Is that for you or for the captain? Are you patching yourself up first?
Probably the captain.
Yeah, I think you're able to kind of dress the captain's wound. He's very aware that there's a big hole in his suit at the moment. That he's kind of the suits come with like a. I think it would be sensible that there's like a patch kit on them. So he's been able to kind of. He's not walking around with like a full hole in the suit anymore. You're able to put like an emergency patch on it after you've done your medical.
Yeah.
Sort of work.
Meanwhile, Murphy's just looking at him going,
I think you need to go back to the ship, Captain, now.
He just kind of, at this point, I think maybe, yeah, you're doing your medical work, and he sort of winces as you sort of finish what you're doing.
You know, I'm never going to hear the end of this from Commander Tallinn.
No, sir. You're not going to hear the end of it from her.
Well, you're all patched up, so that's the important bit.
Thanks, Doc. Looks like you took a nasty nip yourself there. Maybe you ought to come back to the ship as well.
Doc, how do you feel?
It doesn't feel particularly major.
Well, you're the doctor. How about the rest of you? Everyone else okay?
Aye, sir.
Round of nods, and I think a quite shaky one from Bond, even though he didn't actually take any damage, he just was quite scared. Fel is also looking a little shaken, but I think she's fine, really. Bond is definitely sweating inside of his EV suit, like visibly.
Murphy's going to give him a pat on the back.
It's alright, Bond. Well done.
Thanks. Okay, finish up down here as quick as you can, and stay safe. Keep your eyes peeled for more of these things. I'll head back up to the ship and appraise Commander Tallinn of everything we found down here so far.
I'll inform Ray about the possibility of those creatures being around. They might not be there. They might be. It's best to let them know.
Yes, good thinking. Okay, stay safe. I'll see you when you get back.
Rest up, sir.
He taps his comm badge, which is, I realise immediately, the comm badge is almost exactly where in my mind I've been picturing the bite happening. So maybe his comm badge, his comm badge isn't there. Like, also. So this thing is like eating his comm badge, and he goes to like tap it.
Damn it! Can somebody?
Murphy's gonna grin and be like,
Do you need me to call you a lift, sir?
Yes, please. Thank you, Murphy.
No problem, sir.
Slightly chuckled to herself.
I mean, that's a good reason for him to go back to the ship just now.
God, I need a new badge. I can't do anything without a badge.
We couldn't pull him out in an emergency.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
It's also probably a bad idea that he goes back, because Vulcan officers can give you a bollocking.
Yep. Yeah, and Murphy's already feeling the heat because he got injured on her watch. So she's like, I'm not going to hear the end of it. You think you're going to not hear the end of it? I'm the security officer.
You can see the words in a Vulcan voice marching towards the conversation of, where were you when the captain was attacked, Commander Murphy?
Yeah, exactly.
In defense of Commander Tulin, it wasn't any of the security personnel that noticed the threat.
No, it's, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny felt the rumbling. He alerted us to the rumbling.
Scanning frequently.
Yeah.
Trying as hard as possible.
Yeah.
Murphy to Tenzing.
Commander Tulin speaking. Is everything okay down there, Commander Murphy?
Everything's good. We have had interaction with the local wildlife. Captain unfortunately has lost his comm badge. He's fine. We're all fine. Everybody's good. I have managed to convince the captain to return to the ship.
Very well. I shall contact the transporter room immediately. Additionally, Commander, upon your return, I would like to schedule a debriefing about the events of this mission.
I am looking forward to it, Lynn. Sir.
The captain is looking at him. He's got a kind of look in his mind of look in his eye of like, see, we're both in trouble.
Murphy's just like slightly narrowing her eyes at him. She's like, you owe me. You owe me.
Very well. We shall speak upon your return then. Tenzing out.
Captain shakes his head.
We're in trouble.
I did warn you, sir.
Yeah, you did.
I want you to make that clear, sir, that I did warn you.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll put in a good word on your behalf. That way at least one of us will survive. All right. See you all when you get back.
He dematerializes as the ship beams him away from the scene.
Murphy's just gonna let out a sigh.
Right. Johnny, Bonge, can you check out the creatures? I want to know if there's a way that we can deter them at all. Doc, if you would like to help with that, I will contact Ray and inform him of the situation.
Fella's already got a tricorder out and is scanning them and that, but I think we will cut over then to Ray at the mineral site. I think your team has gotten everything set up. Really, you've kind of brought a bit of equipment out of the runabout to just kind of take some samples and do some more kind of in-depth scans. Carson has carted out a small laser rig to kind of take like a core sample, and you've kind of made your way over to what the scans had told you was like, okay, here's a concentration of ores. As you get there, you're surprised at how obvious it is that this is the site, really. You're expecting, this isn't your first sort of planetary survey, this isn't your first kind of mineral survey at all, and oftentimes it's like you're sent down to an area and told, yeah, that's where the minerals are, and you have to do a bit of digging to get to them. As you get over to this site, you're surprised to find that there's kind of a lot of exposed seams already visible, which is unusual.
Okay. Well, as I'm looking at them, is there any indication that I can see where these have been previously mined by civilization? Is that why they appear to be here in abundance? Maybe they started to mine this area and then something happened and they had to stop.
Well, bearing in mind this was the seabed, this was the bottom of the ocean kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, worth looking. If that's your immediate thought on that, I don't mean. It's not like you walk over and find like a mine with a bunch of tools and things or anything like this. It's just you're expecting to do some digging, and immediately you're like, I mean, admittedly, you're head of sciences, you've got a bit of training in that and everything. You can see like, okay, well, there's some visible differences in the rock there, and that's like it's a formation there and things. That's more what I meant more than anything else. But if you want to look for signs of mining, you totally can.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just because this was originally part of the seabed, I mean, we don't have anything to either prove or disprove that this used to be an inhabited world, and maybe marine mining was a thing that might explain why these formations are the way they are.
Sure. Okay.
Well, I'm looking for signs that there's been there's visible marks of intrusion where something has dug down or has penetrated in to extract mineral.
I think maybe insight engineering then, because insight is like perceiving what you can glean from a situation that you're seeing, and then it's kind of you're looking for something that would be more engineering specific rather than anything else. Yeah,
I'm looking for markers of some kind of engineering or some kind of contraption that has made a gap or a hole in the formation that doesn't look natural.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's a bit difficulty too then. So you're looking for insight engineering, so 13 or under. Good.
A 17 and a 2.
Okay. Do you think any of your focuses apply here? You've got cybernetics, xenobiology, anthropology, the Borg, reverse engineering.
Might be a stretch, maybe reverse engineering, because I'm looking for markers of things, a marker that might be left by engineering practice.
Okay.
It's a real stretch, so it might not apply, but that's the only thing I can think would work.
I can see how you got to that, at least, I think that's a fringe case of that. Reverse engineering is more like looking at a device and being able to go like, how does this work?
How does it work? Yeah. What went into the construction?
Rather than like looking at a thing and going, has this been worked on? I don't think that really.
Yeah, I won't use all my focuses, and we'll just stick with the one success.
Okay. Yeah. I think with one success, I think you can't rule it out, but there's nothing definitive. I want to say. I think in the rules, like technically, like there's less of this sort of like grey sort of middle ground thing. But I don't like to just be like absolutely not in things like this where it's like what do I perceive kind of thing.
Yeah. Inconclusive. Yeah, because I can't tell either way.
Yeah, you got one success, but like you're not sure. I think the one success maybe represents you looking at it and thinking, well, this wasn't what I was expecting, but I don't have definitive proof here that this has been mined.
Yeah. So that's a mystery I still gonna have to deal with. Okay. Well, these formations certainly look not quite natural the way I would expect them to look, but I can't find any conclusive signs of civilization interference or mining going on. Pherea, can you begin deep mineral analysis on the formation off to your right, and I'll take the ones just in front of us?
Sure, sir. No problem.
Okay, so we'll start the scans.
Yeah, so can I get reason science checks from each of you?
Sure.
It's a 2 and a 6.
2 and a 6. Ray got a complication and an 8.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Ray.
Hey, you're the other side of the planet. You can't see this.
So, yeah, Ray, you're having a bit of trouble on your one. It's registering in tricorder, but you're getting a little bit of
interference.
Anomalous results again, I think. Pherea, though, the formation that Ray has directed you to is the tricorder takes a minute or two. I mean, it's kind of running it through its database and everything, and it comes back that what you're looking at here is ilmenite, which is a titanium iron oxide mineral.
Ilmenite.
Yeah, which is a major source of titanium ore. It's found many planets, including Earth, and yeah.
Okay, is it the only mineral that I'm detecting? Are we picking up any trace elements, any other minerals mixed in there, or is it pure ilmenite?
There's a few different iron ore kind of adjacent sort of minerals than that. I mean, these are sort of seams running through the exposed rock of the what was the ocean floor here. It just happens this area it's particularly close to the surface, to the point where it's this seam is actually visible on the surface, kind of thing. Behind you, Carson has now got his sort of a tripod set up with a kind of core sample taker thing. This is
Hey, if you take a step back, sir, I'll take a sample.
Okay, Carson, go ahead. Marking this down as ilmenite.
He activates this thing, and it's sort of firing a little bit of a laser into the rock itself, which is extracting stuff a little bit deeper than you. It's like a little boring drill kind of thing. It sort of bores into the rock, and it's got like a kind of micro tractor thing in it, and it just, before you know it, it's kind of filled a sort of sample container with some bits from the mineral seam.
Call this sample 1.
Begins moving his tripod around. Bereka is sort of stood to one side, kind of scanning around on the horizon across this sort of open plain. It's kind of looking a little bit bored. Dr. Salat also has his tricorder out, and he's just kind of taking various readings. He's content to just kind of get on with it. He knows it's not his specialty, but he's kind of there as a sort of medic, but he can do science stuff, so he's doing his part.
Yeah, he's there to support.
Yeah. I think at this point you would get your call from Murphy, I think.
Murphy to Ray?
Oh. Ray here, go ahead, Murphy.
I'm just letting you in on the situation we have here. Local wildlife attacked us from underground. 6-foot long worms, quite a number of teeth. Took a nip out the captain. The captain's back on the ship.
Any other injuries?
The doctor took a little nip too, but she's fine. But yeah, just giving you a heads up. We're going to take you more scans and then head back up the ship. So just watch your backs out there.
Understood. Thank you for the update. Ray out. Did you hear any of that, Bereka?
Yes, Commander.
Have you seen anything since we got out of the runabout?
Nothing so far, but I'm keeping my eyes open.
I think probably a good idea that I get everybody to get their phaser settings a bit higher. Sounds like Murphy's team was jumped by these creatures. Don't normally go in for kill first, ask questions later, but I think this is a good idea. What do you think?
Her eyes go wide, and you're very conscious of her gun arm starting to rise. Then you realise she's not focusing on you. She's looking over your shoulder.
Ray slowly turns around to look in the same direction.
Standing on the ridge, overlooking your dig site, looking down at your group, stands a figure. Huge, bulky, and covered in what looks to be some kind of armor plating. Massive arms ending in mechanical manipulator claws clutch some kind of unidentifiable mechanical implement in front of a body which ends in 4 legs, planted in a wide, tense stance, unmoving, but with the unmistakable air of being ready for action at any moment. Unable to tear your eyes away, your team stands frozen. The only movement in the camp, a swirl of dust, blown through by the wind. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time on Thursday, November 7th with the next chapter of Frontier, and we hope you'll all join us for that. In the meantime, you can head to pretendingwithdice.com for links to all of our online presences, including our Discord server, Ko-Fi page, social media links, and much, much more. So yeah, for now, that's our show. We hope you all enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.